Well, welcome. This is the Rio Grande River to Costa Travels. We're going into take you international today. We're gonna take you to Mexico. But here we are crossing the Rio Grande River. As you can see, there's a lot of water. Normally this thing is almost like dry. It was dry not too long ago, but lots of water, which is good. We need the water in the Rio Grande Valley. There we are. Welcome to the United States in Spanish and English. And here it is, the entrance to Nuevo Progreso, Mexico. All the stories I'm going to tell here that remembering coming to Mexico when I first came to the Rio Grande Valley. It was exciting for us because we really didn't know Mexico that good. We came all the way from Chicago to this place here in Nuevo Progreso, Mexico. We liked it. TV business doesn't pay much, so I used to have to come over just to buy food for my family. I would buy eggs, bread, tortillas, and believe it or not, even some clothes. My kid never forgets that I used to buy those Canada shoes for them. Well, they're good. They're good shoes, and they were affordable. Yeah, I used to come. I'll tell you one time I got it when I was trying to cross. I didn't know. I really didn't know if you can, what you can take across or what you could not. So I always like to buy these magnets and put them on my fridge. I already have some here. I have them from every place I've gone, so my fridge is kind of full. That's a good thing.
Vendiendo aquí.
A ver.
Está bonita, muy bonita,
Nice cross,
gracias.
right? They're selling everything out there.
No,
No
gracias.
palitos, anybody buys these. Anyway, I was going back across to the United States with the food that I used to come and buy. And I didn't know you could not cross eggs. Yeah, you cannot take eggs across. You cannot take certain flowers. You cannot take avocados with the seed in them. And there's so many things. So I would say make sure you check before you take stuff across the border. But yeah, they told me what they did. They just were nice. They broke the eggs. They took the eggs and they broke them all up. And but I still even like to buy a Coke. I used to like to buy soda, you know. So I used to love to come and buy soda. And then, the soda's always been good in Mexico, so can enjoy that. But I used to buy them by the 24. You buy 24, and then you take them across, and
How much did they
that
sell?
they allowed to take. So yeah, that's one of the adventures. Then I had a relative that lived over here in Nuevo Progreso, and it was interesting, the way they live here, and in all these years, like I said, you're talking about the 1980s, the early 1980s. We're talking about. I used to come and get my supplies to feed my kids and clothe them by coming to Mexico, a little cheaper, and like I said, I didn't get paid much, so that's why I did it. But yeah, I had a relative that lived over here, and we used to come and visit her, and we were always amazed. She had chickens
No?
and kind of like animals,
Yeah, tiny.
but they were not
You
pets.
don't have to get
They
it,
were
you know?
here too, so they can eat them. And let's see what adventures I had with Channel 5. One time, well, it wasn't here, but it was in Reynosa. Turned out to be the news director, but at that time, she was the reporter, and I was the
What's
photographer.
Japonés? Peanuts.
And it was, I believe, a Saturday or Sunday. We went to Reynosa, Mexico, just messing around. Like, really, we weren't looking for any story in particular. And all of a sudden, there was like a riot. Yes, there was like a riot,
They're not
and
this pretty.
so and then there was like these people that were running the minibuses, and then there was the police, and the police had their weapons drawn, and the minibus drivers were kind of starting a riot. So they were starting to throw rocks. And luckily, I was smart enough. I said, you know what? I'm going to get on the side of the police officers. And sure enough, that helped because the police officers started shooting. But for honest to goodness, yes, it's true. They started shooting, and everybody started running everywhere. And
She
the
was funny.
Mark
I said, close.
reporter I had, name is Jenny. She, I said, listen, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna tie with the crowd, but they're gonna try to take away the videotape from me. So I'm gonna give you the tape that I recorded already of all the shooting, and I think they wounded a couple of those mini taxi bus drivers. But I gave her the tape, and she got she got in the cab, and she went back across to Mexico. And I stayed over there. A family gave me refuge. As soon as it calmed down a little bit, so they wouldn't see where I went, got in my car, and I went back over to meet up with my reporter. So that was an adventure. And then there was one time when there's like a riot in Matamoros, Mexico. That's across from Brownsville. The Reynosa, that's across from McAllen. This in Brownsville. Here in Progreso, there's hardly any big activities going on. There's normally it's pretty quiet little town. It's a great place to come and be a tourist. So here in Matamoros, they sent me. I
Maybe
went
another
to
story.
go to Matamoros because they were rioting and they were trying to get a hold of me. The newsroom was trying to get a hold of me. I couldn't. We used to. The only way we had communication back in those days were these two-way radios, and somehow they weren't working very good. They were trying to tell me not to go across because the reporter that was there ahead of me and the photographer they were they were being attacked. Apparently, they got hit. And they're trying to mess up their equipment.
Can't even
I
put
didn't
that
know
on the
any of
video
this,
if you know, like,
So there we go. They're
you
like a
gotta put that
knucklehead.
stuff.
I went across,
Yeah, a
and
lot of
there they
kids.
were. They were burning the bus, and they were banging on it. And I was so lucky, and I guess God's always with me. They've been blessed that I got there. They even made a little parking spot for me, and they were burning the bus, and they were banging with hammers, and I forgot what riot was about, what the protest was about,
That's what
but
they believe.
they were doing that. They were banging and hitting
That's what
the
it is. It
bus
comes
with
from the Aztecs, you know.
burning it up, and they gave me all the access to it. They kind of even helped me get there. I guess I don't know what they were thinking. I guess they thought I maybe was a photographer from Mexico,
Yeah.
but I was lucky. Got all my video. Got back in the car and I came across. And then when I found out that
Do you
they didn't
talk?
want me to go across because they were
Hey, show
beaten
your
up,
face.
because the reporter
Show
and
your face.
photographer were attacked in Mexico. It's another one I didn't forget. So also in Matamoros, I went across when Kilroy is a famous student who was kidnapped by some drug cartels, or even worse, I don't know. There was these cartels. They went and they killed them, and then they sacrificed them to their so they can be able to cross their drugs. And yeah, that was a big one. That too, I went to Matamoros, and I was the very first one. Not to brag, or maybe again, I was lucky because I was the first one at this little place where he was sacrificed, and that's where they were burying many of their victims. So I was the very first one there. There was nobody there. It was late in the afternoon. So the sun was going down, and I got lucky because there was a tick rider. A tick rider's a cop that kind of like protects, makes sure that the cows they go across the river by accident, or when they do go across, he makes sure that they don't let them or they round them up before they get to any other part of the United States, or across the border and get brought back. So yeah, a tick rider. And there we were checking the barn. You can see
¿Cuánto
they had
vale los
a little
su
pot in
dignidad?
front of the building with a skeleton, and some bones, and
20 maybe.
yeah, I've never forgot that. And then the next day, when we all got out, and there was again, I went back. My job was to go back to the little, like the one that knew where it was, and so I went back to the little location and where that little shack was, and before you know it, stations, TV stations, and helicopters and cars and from all over the country and the state of Texas came to that building. It was chaos. It was going crazy. I'll never forget that. It was like an invasion. You know, you could swear it was an army. You know, coming in with helicopters and that. Like they serve in the military, so been on a helicopter. But that was very interesting. So that was another adventure there. The murder of the student Kilroy. I'll never forget that one. You know, my good friend Eddie Pettis once did a great job. He covered most of the time when the people that were accused of the murder were brought out to the media.
This weekend.
In Mexico, it's kind of real different. So when they recovered the bodies, they made the people that killed them recover the bodies, unearth them, and they made them do that. They made them because they knew where the bodies were located, so they made them locate the bodies again and unearth them themselves, so they can. That was a sort of a punishment. It was real neat. In Mexico, they told us if you put a hanky with lime in it, you were kind of knock the smell off. You were in a way deterred the smell from getting to your nostrils and that of all the dead bodies they had. Yes, that helped a lot. So we put the hanky, and that way you don't smell when they unearth these bodies. So they took many of the bodies and they put them in the morgue. The morgue was back in those days anyway. I don't know how it is now. The morgue was they put the bodies in the morgue with a bunch of ice over them. I recall that. There's a guy who's trying to get us to go to this
What is it?
business here. He tells us what it is. Yeah, like I was saying, the morgue was nothing like the United States over here. They put the bodies with ice, and they allowed us to go and view the bodies. And as many of the family members who had people missing, they would go and try to ID their loved ones. So yeah, I didn't forget that. That was you could see that there were bodies after bodies, and just there with the eyes, and kind of, and they would look for like some kind of like a tattoo or some kind of like a beauty mark or some kind of thing that the family would know that their loved one would have, and they would ID the body, and they would then give the body to their loved ones. So yes, uh, it's another one I'll never forget. Oh, there were so many riots that I went to into Mexico. I've been tear gas, shot at, you name it. Mexico was wild back in those days. I don't know, probably maybe I don't know if it's worse now or what, but yes, it was really wild. There's so many times that my reporter, who became a news director, we were always in some kind of adventure in Mexico. I'll never forget that. We were uh, one time there was we went. I don't know what we were looking into, but that's it. There was this guy with a gun came out, and we were in the car. We were trying to find some deal or some place, but the guy came out with a big old rifle. And I told the reporter, I know I was real stupid or what with me. I just didn't drive away because I was afraid he might just shoot us. So I got out of the car and like thought I was kind of brave, and I know to him I said what we were doing, what we were looking for, and not to get excited, and that we were gonna leave. And so we did. We left. No incident happened. Not too bad of a guy, but a little scary when somebody comes out with a gun. You never know what's gonna happen. But most of the time, for the most part, Mexico's pretty exciting. There's always nice, fun stuff to go do. So if you're gonna enjoy the holidays that are coming up, I would suggest for you, yes, to go to Mexico and enjoy a quick little visit, especially to Nuevo Progreso. For right now, this is it. I'm gonna say good night for Costa Travels, and I hope you give me an idea. Look, I might take a job here. They're looking for cooks. So don't forget to like, share. Till next time, Costa Travels. Wherever you'd like me to travel, leave a comment. Bye
Thank
bye.
you.